Good morning, everyone. I hope you're having a great day. I'm the Jackpot. Good afternoon, good evening, good night. Hope you guys are having a great day. Today we are going to be going over Task F, Area One operation of the FOIs, Fundamentals of Instruction. This is the last section of the FOIs. I have a whole playlist of A, B, C, D, E. This is the last one, F, for the FOIs. So. I can't even talk today. We will be going over this. We will be going over some risk management and elements of effective teaching and accident prevention, which is going to be Task F today. Now, I am going to be using reference as Bin's Flight Services. He has everything regarding Task A, B, C, D, E, F. Everything as well on the technical subject areas, pre-flight preparation, and the flight section of the CFI. I highly recommend using this is binsflightservices.com/ACS underscore area L, or area 1, sorry, I should say. So cool, I'm using this, and we'll go over that. So this section is going to be on the right here for Task F. I have another PDF that I'll be pulling up on the side as well. Now, for starting, let's get started. And so first up we have teaching risk identification, assessment, and mitigation. Okay. Now I should kind of start off by saying we have 4 different principles of risk. Okay. We accept no unnecessary risk. Okay, number 1. We make risk decisions at the appropriate level. Accept risk only when the benefits outweigh the cost. And then 4th, integrate risk management into all levels of planning, or planning into all levels. Okay, the first one, accept no unnecessary risk. Right, we don't want to go up into a thunderstorm if we only have to. Right, or we don't want to make any unnecessary risk regarding thunderstorms or plane parts or whatever it is. Make risk decisions at an appropriate level. All right, exactly as it sounds like. Make risk decisions, avoid risk at the appropriate level of whatever pilot you are, what level of training, solo versus you're a commercial pilot, right? There's going to be different levels. And accept risk only when the benefits outweigh the cost, I should say. There's going to be risk, and there's going to be basically the things that you have to avoid from it, okay? And the things that you can avoid, those things can be mitigated, later on once you become a better pilot. Then we have integrate risk management into all planning at all levels, right? From the onset of training, risk management should be introduced to your students, and you as a CFI should be introducing risk management at all levels, regarding even if it's a cross country, 50 miles away. Even if you're going from another airport 10 miles away, right? There's going to be risk associated at all flights at all levels, okay? Now, we have the identification, assessment, and mitigation. So, we have a few different principles of risk management, and then you can read these on the BIN's Flight Services PDF, which is free, I should say. So, the management process, this is going to be the principles, at least, going over all over those, which actually I won't touch on those, but you can go over those at your own pace. Then we have risk management process. Now I use the acronym IAMS, which is on here. I'll bring up IAM, so IAAMIS or IAMIS, whatever it is. Risk management process. So we identify the hazard, we assess the risk, analyze our risk control measures, make control decisions, implement risk control decisions, or implement the risk control. Then we supervise and review afterwards. Okay, this is going to be the IAMIS acronym. Write this down under your mitigation and assessment, or whatever it is, under the management, whatever it is. You can just put that in there. It's a good reminder to have on there as well. Okay. So then move on. So we identify, we assess, analyze, make the control decisions. You implement your decision and supervise and review. Okay. This is going to be a full step-by-step guide on this PDF right here. Going over it at your own pace. That's why I won't touch on it here, just because it's a lot of information kind of shoving into one time. So then we're going to talk about the risk assessment matrix. Okay, so on the risk assessment matrix, we have very almost like a negligible and a catastrophic. Okay, now up here on the top left is going to be very catastrophic. On the bottom right is going to be very negligible. Okay, if it's low probability and low severity, okay, then it can be noted as negligible or not really going to happen at all, or 0.001% chance. But if you go up, the likelihood is very, very probable, and the severity is catastrophic, it's going to be a high catastrophic event, okay, which is going to be very dangerous for flight, okay. So going over this with your CFI instructor, going over this is going to be very imperative, and also teaching this to your student is going to be very imperative on how they assess their risk for every flight, which is going to be very important for them, okay. So moving on to the tools, all right, teaching risk management tools. Now we have two things listed in the ACS, right, on the PAVE checklist and the FRATS, okay. The pilot, aircraft, environment, external pressures, the PAVE checklist, okay. Everyone is familiar with the PAVE, but we also have the I'm safe, right. We have the I'm safe for the pilot. We have the PAVE for basically everything regarding that risk, and then we have the FRATS, okay. So we're all familiar with I'm safe. If not, then in your CFI, then you need to really review that, because I'm safe is going to be the best thing for you, okay, regarding the self-pilot checks, you should say. So then we have the PAVE checklist. We have the pilot, aircraft, environment, and external pressures, right? The pilot, we have the I'm safe checklist, okay, just like we talked about, right? For aircraft, now we have two different ones, right? We have aero, and then the maintenance inspections, right? So we have aero, so you have the airworthiness certificate, registration, radio, operating limitations, weight and balance, right? Then we have the aviates, our ADs, our annual VOR checks, things like that, altimeter pitot-static, ELT, transponder, things like that. That's going to be regarding our aircraft, okay? And then also the maintenance, we talked about that. All right, then next is going to be the environment, okay? Risk factors relating to weather, unfamiliar airports, okay? It's exactly what it sounds like. The environment which you're operating at. Is it hot versus cold? Winter versus summer? Is it raining, thunderstorming? Is it a beautiful day, right? That's going to be the environment which you're operating out of. Then the external pressures. Now this is very important, okay, for teaching this to student pilots. External pressures. There's going to be a lot of times where students may feel pressured to get a flight done, right, or get their ITIS, right? It's listed out here. Get their ITIS. They might feel really pressured to get this flight done, since they can only fly maybe once or twice a week. They're not getting their flying done, week by week, because maybe there's a thunderstorm or whatever it is, right? But if there's some questionable weather, maybe it's marginal VFR, maybe 3 statute miles, even 3 or 4 statute miles, right? But they're a student pilot. They're going to feel really pressured to get that flight done, even when the ceiling's at 2,000 or even 1,800 feet. They're going to be really pressured to get that flight done, even when it's not going to be a good day for flying, right? So bringing external pressures into the mix is going to be very important for teaching this to student pilots, okay? And I guarantee your DPE will bring up external pressures in this checklist, okay? Then we have the flight risk assessment tools. Now, these are new, okay? I guess kind of new by the FAA, right? And on the left side of the screen, I'll bring it up. So we have the flight risk assessment tools given by the FAA, Aviation Safety Section, for general aviation, okay? So why should we use it? And there's this whole PDF. If you just type in flight risk assessment tool, FAA, this document will be the first up, all right? And there's different assessment risk management handbooks that we can dive into maybe on another day. FOI ACS, which are very important regarding the flight risk assessment tools. And then we have the actual flight risk assessment tool. It's like kind of like a checklist of how good are you basically for this flight, essentially. So there's green, yellow, red. There's this whole kind of pamphlet you can kind of walk over and go over. So again, going over this at your own time, but I guarantee you will be going over this on your CFI Check Ride, the flight risk assessment tool. Even though it's new, just familiarize yourself with it on this PDF. It's going to be really good information for you for learning. Okay. Then we have the when and how to introduce risk management. Okay. So first, introducing. Actually, I should talk about this. Know the 5 hazardous attitudes. Okay. Anti-authority, impulsivity, invulnerability, macho, and resignation. Know those. If you're a CFI and you don't know those, then you really need to brush up on that. And the hazardous attitudes and the antidotes. How they go hand in hand with that. Okay. I would know that as well. And again, this is all on the binsflightservices.com. So when and how to introduce risk management. Okay. You want to introduce risk management on the onset of training. Okay. Even when a student is doing a discovery flight. Okay. Teaching them what it's like to be a pilot, how we kind of judge whether we're ready for a flight, and judge why this flight or we can do, and what things make it okay for us to mitigate risk here, right? Things like that. So we know when to introduce the risk management on the onset of training, even going through pre-solo all the way up until a 250-hour commercial pilot, or even going to a CFI after that, right? You know how to introduce risk management. Okay. That's going to be very important. Then risk management teaching techniques by phase of instruction. Okay, so this is a little bit tricky right here, this topic right here in the ACS. Okay, but the teaching techniques by phase of instruction. Okay, so the pre-solo student, right? They're not going to have a lot of experience inside of the aircraft. Okay, they're not going to have a lot of experience mitigating risk because they don't have a lot of experience even to begin with, right? They flow maybe 2 or 3, 4 times. So by bringing them, risk management techniques of, hey, this is why we're doing this. This is why we're pre-flighting extra cautious today. Or hey, the 50 hour or the 100 hour, it was about to go. The plane's about to go down for the 100 hour. Let's make sure the oil is full. Because oil burns off, whatever it is. And be kind of babying little by little, adding a little bit more risk management as you go on into the onset of training, right? From pre-solo, then to private, and then all the way through commercial. Integrate that risk management little by little, and then eventually, pre-solo, they know how to delve into the emergency procedures and how to mitigate risk in emergency procedures. So bringing that phase of instruction just little by little. It's kind of like the building blocks of learning, right? Just the building blocks of risk mitigation. They go hand in hand. The same thing right there. So that's a check in the box. We have managing risk during flight instruction, including common flight instruction risks, best practices, and special considerations while teaching takeoff landings. Okay, first one, common flight instruction risk. Now, in aviation, there's one thing everyone should know. There is always going to be risk associated with aviation. Inside the aircraft, inside an airport environment, in the airspace. No matter what airspace you're in, there's always going to be risk, okay? Even it could be a beautiful day, all right? But a lot of GA crash or general aviation crashes happen when it's clear out and blue skies, right? That's when the most aviation crashes happen. So knowing when that risk is happening, right, the students should know. Okay. Then we have best practices. Well, best practices. It's always important to teach your student emergency procedures, how to mitigate risk, and then eventually they become a safe pilot, right, when they go to that pre-solo. They know how to do all the things, know the regulations relating to this airport, the pattern altitude, 1,000 feet AGL. They're familiar with the airport surroundings around them. So knowing, and again, this is going to be tailored to every single student, and kind of more or less is going to be tailored to the airport which you are training at. There's going to be best practices for the area in your surroundings. Okay, because if you're at flight training in the mountains versus if you're in flight training down in Florida, there's going to be different practices regarding each airport and every regulation for that. Okay, but again, this is going to be tailored to you and your student in your airport. So then we have special considerations while teaching takeoffs and landings. All right, so the takeoffs and landings, all right, there's always going to be risk associated with this, especially at the student pilot level. Okay, they're always gonna want to, porpoise the nose up and down, slamming the nose gear, which we don't want, of course, as a CFI, and damaging the plane and everything like that. The runway gets closed because the plane is broken on the runway, and then tower is mad at you because, your student pilot crashed the plane on the runway. So we do not want our takeoffs and landings to be poor, right? But teaching these little by little by little, right? So if we go up on a discovery flight, maybe I'll land the first time, but have their hands on the flight controls and kind of see what you're doing with the yoke and things like that. With the rudder pedals as well, maintaining center line, things like that, and crosswind correction. So go over how a takeoff and landing is executed. Of course, if you're preparing for your CFI check ride, you will know how to do teaching the performance takeoffs and the performance landings. But again, bring up these special considerations. All right. Then lastly, we have the ADM, the CRM, and the SRM. Okay. So the ADM. Now we talked about this earlier, right? With the HOTS SPT, right? The high order thinking skills and scenario based training. This ties into aeronautical decision making. Okay. This is going to be more or less the risk management decision making. Okay. So go over that, the ADM, right? The high order thinking skills, right? Problem based questions and how a student can answer the question, dive into the question, define an answer, and then get answers and pick the best one, which of course they should have. So that's going to be the ADM. Then we have the CRM, right? The single pilot resource management. Not the SRM, the CRM, the crew resource management. Okay, if it's you and another pilot inside the cockpit, regardless if it's a student pilot or private pilot or commercial pilot or another CFI, okay, it's always important to manage your situations wisely. Okay, one pilot may be able to do radios. One pilot's flying. I know even if you're not PIC or SIC inside the aircraft, or even if it's type rated, even if you're just in a GA aircraft like a Cessna 172, 152, or a Piper Archer, Cherokee, whatever it is, diminishing the workload on yourself as a pilot is going to be very beneficial for getting a flight done, especially at the end of the day. All right, then we have single pilot resource management. And again, for all three of these is going to be a lot of logic is going to be based inside of these. Okay, right? You don't want to be going up and single pilot resource management filing IFR on a day where maybe you're at the last of your currency and you haven't flown a little bit and maybe you're sub 200 hours, right? That's going to be very dangerous SRM situation. Okay, but if you bring it up into CRM, get another pilot with you, maybe they're instrument rated. Or even another safety pilot inside the aircraft when you're flying. It's going to be additional set of eyes, additional set of everything, so to mitigate that risk. Okay, so going over all of these, and all these would be listed in the PHAC, the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge. Go over that, and the Flight Instruction Handbook. All of this stuff is going to be listed in the Flight Instruction Handbook given by the FAA, or published by the FAA, I should say. Okay. So that's going to be it for task F, and making sure our risk management box is checked off as well. Okay, hazards associated with providing flight instruction. Okay, we talked about our hazards and obstacles to maintaining situational awareness during flight instruction. Sounds like we took care of that. Recognizing and managing hazards arising from human behavior, including hazardous attitudes. Okay, I talked about that briefly, but the hazardous attitudes. Again, you should know as a CFI by this point. I won't spell it out for you. But again, go over those. It's in this. If you need it here, the macho, anti-authority, invulnerability, impulsivity, resignation, and all the antidotes that go with that. So, and they're all listed out here and what they do. Okay, so that is going to be it for task F. I'm the Jack Pilot. I hope you guys are having a great day. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. It's a big goal of mine. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers. by the end of the year, which I hope I will. So anyway, guys, I'm the Jack Pilot. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next video. I'll be making the video on the technical subject areas as well as some regulation videos in the future. Anyway, guys, like and subscribe to the video. I'm the Jack Pilot. I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, maintain VFR, frequency change approved. See ya!